This is Rebecca Evans for WHRO-FM. Next weekend marks the beginning of the Virginia Symphony Orchestra's new season. It's an exciting time for our arts community, and I had the opportunity to sit down with two musicians from the VSO, flutist and piccolo player Rachel Ordaz and violinist Amanda Gates. We talked about their musical backgrounds, upcoming concerts, and what their lives are like living here in Hampton Roads.
So if you both could just tell me a little bit about your musical backgrounds.
So I started playing the flute when I was about 10 years old, and I grew up in the Chicago area and instantly started with private lessons, and a few years later was involved in the youth orchestra in Chicago Youth Symphony Orchestras, and I started going to a music school in downtown Chicago. That was the Merit School of Music. I knew very quickly that this was something I wanted to pursue for a career, and it was an excellent place to grow up as a young musician. I had really excellent education there, and from there I went to pursue a bachelor's in music at the Carnegie Mellon University, and then I pursued a master's at the Peabody Conservatory.
So my name's Amanda Gates, and I'm a violinist, and I also started when I was 10 years old, and it's a little late for a violinist, but that's what I did. And I grew up outside D.C., so not too far from here. And like Rachel, I got involved with my local youth orchestra, which was then called the Northern Virginia Youth Symphony. It's since been renamed American Youth Philharmonic. So I also got a fellowship with the National Symphony Youth Fellowship Program. And then I went to college at Catholic University, which is also in Washington, D.C., and when I graduated, I thought, I'll take a couple of auditions before I auditioned for grad schools, and one of them was here. And I got the job here in 1996, and I've been here ever since. So it's my 24th season here with the VSO. It's been a while. Yeah.
So how do you guys like living in Norfolk and Hampton Roads?
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Growing up in Chicago, it was very interesting. Lots of busy city, lots of flat land. I really appreciate that we are surrounded by water here, and the geography of Virginia is just so beautiful, and the people and the community, it's just a really wonderful place to be.
I always like to tell people I think Norfolk is sort of a small, big city. It's got everything you need in a big city, and yet I feel like I know everyone everywhere I go, and that's a really great feeling.
Do you have a certain performance that you're most excited about for the upcoming season?
Me personally, I'm really excited about their opening night. We are performing some works by Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff, but I am most excited about performing Ravel's Daphnis and Chloe's Suites. They're incredibly beautiful impressionistic pieces, and they have, of course, wonderful parts for the flutes and the flute section, and it's one of those pieces that you grew up studying quite early because it's quite difficult, but really beautiful music. So I'm looking forward to that coming up in September.
I'm also really looking forward to the opening concert, mainly because Alexander Gavrilyuk, who's our soloist, I've been performing with him each summer for the past 10 summers, I think, in Chautauqua, New York, where I play in the summers. And he's just fantastic. He will bring down the house, and he has such energy and such a compelling approach to especially Rachmaninoff in particular. So I'm really excited that he's going to be here with us.
Did either of you have kind of like a defining moment, either listening to classical music or performing it when you were younger, that kind of made you fall in love with the art form?
I did. Mine's a little embarrassing, but when I was in 7th grade, we were in Florida for a year, and I made it into the Florida All-State Junior Orchestra that year. Yes, thank you very much. And we played an arrangement of the Russian Sailor's Dance, which is a fun piece, but it's looking back, it's kind of funny that this was it. But it was the first time that I'd played with winds and brass in a full symphonic context, and I just thought it was the greatest thing that I'd ever heard. And it was in that moment that I said, this is what I want to do. It sort of kicked me into high gear as a player.
Right. I don't know that my moment actually occurred while I was actively playing. I think I grew up in a somewhat musical household. My older brother is a tuba player and a music educator, and my mother played piano when she was younger, and we always had music happening in the house. And I remember my mother liked to play a lot of, American music, American composers, lots of Gershwin, lots of Copland and Bernstein. And I remember she put on a recording of Bernstein's West Side Story. And there was a moment where all of a sudden there's this flute soli section, and it was lyrical and it was bubbly and it was all kinds of different audible characteristics going on with with that one particular section. And I instantly fell in love with the sound of the flute and with what those instruments were able to characterize in that moment, in that piece. And so I knew then that I have to play the flute. Where can I get my hands on one of those flutes?
That was flutist and piccolo player Rachel Ordaz and violinist Amanda Gates, both from the Virginia Symphony Orchestra. Catch the VSO in concert Friday, September 13th through Sunday, September 15th at various venues throughout Hampton Roads. If you can't wait until then, the VSO is having a community concert event today at 4:30 p.m. at the Scope Arena in Norfolk, and it's free and open to the public. Details for all of the VSO's upcoming events are at virginiasymphony.org. This is Rebecca Evans for WHRO FM.